Red leather, yellow leather.
Wow, I can't even say this, Steve.
Yeah, yeah. Say it.
Vicky might know the French one. Si ton 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 est tendu.
I'm gonna say
11 benevolent elephants. You know this one? 11 benevolent
11
elephants.
benevolent elephants. That wasn't too hard. Yeah, that wasn't too
Doing
hard.
well.
Yeah.
You passed the test, Vicky, so I think we can start the
Great.
recording. Good day, mobilers. Good day, everyone. Good day, Steve. How are we
Dave.
doing today?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm very okay, in case you were about to ask.
Very okay again.
Very
Yeah.
okay. So it's not just okay, it's a bit better than
All
okay.
right, I'm swell then. I'm swell.
Awesome. Today, it's going to be a fantastic episode because we are talking about Korea. And we're focusing that episode on understanding why would World Mobile actually get into the Korean market.
That's South Korea, David.
Korea.
Just to be specific.
Sorry for any fan of Kim. We're going to talk about the South at the moment. Focus our efforts here, but yes. And, we couldn't do this alone. So I thought it would be fantastic to bring an expert in Korean affairs. And that expert is a wonderful lady from the community. Her name is Vicky. And I met her through the club store, when I actually purchased my AirNotes through the club store. And Vicky and her partner Julien are running that. And Julien happens to be French as well. So we're getting along very well. And I thought Vicky would be fantastic to bring a lot of knowledge about the Korean market. So let's bring Vicky here with us.
Hi, David.
Hello,
Hi,
Vicky.
Steve.
Hey.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I go by Vicky or Kimchi Node in World Mobile community. And as David introduced, I'm Korean, currently based in Singapore.
So Steve, we should have said 안녕하세요.
Oh, I don't speak any Korean,
You don't speak.
unfortunately. I have been there once, and I think I spoke it for I did learn a couple of things, but I've forgotten it all now. The main thing I remember about Korea, South Korea, was deep fried chicken and beer, right?
Yeah.
There's lots of deep fried chicken and beer places, very popular.
Indeed. So, I think it would be good once World Mobile takes more place in Korea, then we should definitely plan a trip and do that fried chicken and beer trip together.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
Korean barbecue and
Yeah. And the hot dog, I
hot dogs
think.
are very they're snacks, but yeah, very popular.
Yeah, deep fried hot dogs. I think that our AirNotes should look like this, like deep fried hot dogs standing up like for the Korean market. We should do this.
That could be interesting.
Oh, I do like kimchi as well. I have some
wow.
kimchi in the fridge. I always keep some
I'm
kimchi
impressed.
around. Mm-hmm.
Oh, in Australia, there's a large
we eat a lot of Asian
Korean
food in
Oh,
Australia.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to hear that.
Because ours is crap. That's why.
Yeah. Let's get into it. I put together, as usual, a little or two slides just to get the conversation going. What have we got here? So we've got some statistics because if World Mobile is getting into Korea, we obviously need to understand what that all means. And I thought we will first look at the population, the country itself. So the country, I think, is not too big. I mean, Steve, compared to Australia, I think it's only 300 or 400 kilometers wide by that much, 300 or 400 kilometers tall. So reasonably small country. When we compare this with Australia, but in Europe, it's still quite maybe a large country. But there is a large population, double the population of Australia. That's 51 million. And Vicky, correct me if I'm wrong, the median age is 45-year-olds?
Yeah. So I guess taking a step back to the population-wise to give a bit of perspective, South Korea does have 51 million people. But what's fascinating is that more than half of them live in the Seoul metropolitan area. So Seoul and Incheon and Gyeonggi province area, that's where half the population is residing. So it's one of the most densely populated urban regions in the world. And putting that into perspective for our global audience, that is still more than people living in New York metro area, which includes New York City, New Jersey, and Connecticut suburbs. And for our European audience, that's more than double the number of people living in London metro area. But like you said, the land mass is very small. It's much smaller. So you can imagine the level of density, but it's also layered with skyscrapers, subways, hyper-connected infrastructure. It's basically a city that never sleeps.
But still 70%, I think, is
Correct. Correct.
mountainous area, yeah?
Korea has very dynamic landscape. 70% of the country is covered by mountains. So even in the heart of cities like Seoul, you can find big and small mountains to kind of hike and trek. So this unique terrain creates both opportunities and challenges when it comes to deploying infrastructure. So especially when you think about building out mobile or mesh networks like air nodes, we're not just talking about like flat land, long roads. We're talking like valleys, ridges, dense city blocks, and old neighborhoods tightly packed together. So I guess in short, Korea has this intense mix of like hyper urban density and rugged like topography, which makes it a very interesting environment for any connectivity project.
Are those urban mountains typically sort of reserves, parks?
Yes and no.
Whatnot?
Some of them are, so some of them allow hikers to just come in and enjoy trekking and stuff. Some of them do have parks.
But some of them are built over, yeah.
A bit like Hong Kong, yeah? So you still have the mountain and those
Correct.
skyscrapers just
Sounds
hanging
similar
on
to Taiwan as well.
Yeah.
It's quite similar.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that while Korea is densely populated, also we have, I think in OECD countries, Korea is, I think, the top where we have the most 5G stations per population. So yeah, so we do have good 5G coverage, which means that we do have a very fast internet speed. People are connected everywhere. We do have free Wi-Fi's available, which I will get into more details later, but which means that people are accessing fast internet even like underground in the subway, in the elevators, on trains. So I think in Seoul metropolitan area, it's like a blanket coverage. But when you go to those like high top mountains or rural areas, I think that's where there is less dense or active connection versus metropolitan areas.
Yeah, that's why I was reading that those areas that are classified rural, the government, made an effort to connect them and really ask the top three telcos, which we're going to talk about, the top three telcos to come together and share infrastructure just to make sure the connectivity is there. But still, rural areas over there only have like half the speed as what you would find within the urban. That's correct, yeah?
Yeah, I think my understanding of it was that most of it is on 4G in sort of the rural areas, or that's often the backup.
Yeah, I think 4G speed is also sufficient to watch YouTube videos and do, I guess, work, different types of work online. But yeah, compared to more populated areas, they might have slower internet.
So the Korean population is I've got it here on the slide, like hyper-connected lifestyle. That's, it feels like, there was a time where you pretty much every single person is connected. So it feels like people are really thirsty for communication, and they're always plugged in. And I mean, your appliances are all plugged in as well. IoT is huge over there. Everything talks to you. You come past your fridge, says hi to you. But like it's crazy over there, like the amount of tech. And as a result, it's funny here, but I've pulled out the figures of how many mobile phone subscription is 64 million. And Steve, you know, the PhD mathematician that you are, you'd think, well, there's only 51 million people. Why is there 64 million subscription?
Well, lots of people have an extra work phone, businesses, all
Vicky,
sorts
it looks
of reasons.
like Korean people have dual SIMs, like more than one SIM.
So it could be multiple factors. People might have 2 different phones or using different SIMs for work versus their personal life. Also, there's a lot of gig economy happening, like similar to Uber Eats or Grab, for example, in Southeast Asia, where they would have multiple phones to utilize. So that might be the case.
Yeah, I think this is where we can jump in, like World Mobile can really help, because those dead spots, or as a delivery driver, for example, you want to have connection everywhere you go. You don't want to end up, you know, in a corner of a back alley or in a mountainous area and just not being able to, you know, to either connect to the person you need to do the delivery with, all this kind of stuff. I think it's really important for these people to have a end-to-end
I think
connection.
As just an consumer side, it's not too difficult to be connected when I'm traveling within Korea. But there would be a lot of cases where I'm not so exposed to, like drivers who travel from city to city, or drivers and gig economy where people have to stay connected in those rural areas, but may not be. So definitely, those would be areas where World Mobile can succeed.
And it's also one of the highest costs for mobile internet access and stuff.
So
world,
actually,
right?
that is something I did want to discuss, because we do have to read into the numbers, because I looked at several reports that kind of all go back to the similar resource. And it says that Koreans pay around $80 a month for mobile service, which is quite high. But actually,
that's US dollars, right?
So, but in reality, based on also what I use and what people around me have used and so on, most people pay similar to like $20, give or take. Even for like 100 gigabyte data plans. I think the reason why the number seems so high is because the source takes the highest or the most expensive plan and the cheapest plan and average it out. So while there are expensive data plans, what happens is that they are bundled with family discounts, home broadbands, IPTV subscriptions, and a lot of restaurant, retail store discounts. So people still do use those plans, but they are tied into other lifestyle and other components of everyday life. So I think it's difficult to just compare that $80 to some of other cheaper mobile plans in the world. And also considering that the speed is much faster. It is one of the highest or the fastest connection in the world. So considering that there is also, the major telcos, the 3 top SK and KT and LGU Plus, Korea also does have the MVNOs where the plan is much cheaper. So I think in reality, it would be around $20, a little bit more expensive, maybe $30 to $40, but there are other perks tied to that.
So you would say America is more expensive or cheaper?
More expensive than Korea for sure. And another thing in Korea is that those telco companies also provide B2B network service and also broadband. So they do all the LAN cables in the country, and also there are a lot of free Wi-Fi's available in Korea, which makes the consumers not have to have very spend a lot of mobile data while they're traveling. But yeah, I think what's important is that Korean consumers are looking for an alternative solution which I think we can bring in the SK Telecom data breach incident in a bit, but because of this monopoly, there have been different incidents where people lost their connectivity. If there was a fire in one of the telco company offices, and that just shut down the internet for many hours. And because all the businesses are using the same LANs and cables, that really hurts the connection, hurts the network.
Okay, yeah. So you're talking about
Exactly.
centralization, the issue
Exactly.
with centralization. Okay, yeah. Where so if I think SK Telecom is almost 40 to 50% of the whole population. Yeah. So I mean, this is huge. Having one operator operating half of the country, and yeah, we'll talk about that SK.
Is this a private
Telecom
company or is it a government sort of? Or it used to be government and now it's private sort of thing?
Most of these big major conglomerates in Korea have strong ties with the government, but they are private entities.
So I wonder, so if so much of the data, Wi-Fi data is free, I guess this is mostly in the urban areas, right? Then I'm assuming that somebody's paying for that somewhere, and is that being paid for by user data and monetizing that kind of stuff?
That's a good question. I don't have a concrete answer with me, but there are different types of Wi-Fi's available. So for example, if I'm using cafes or malls, the entity would be paying for the Wi-Fi.
Sure. The business,
and then out in the public space, the public, whichever facility I'm using, they might be paying for the utility or the Wi-Fi.
Do people feel comfortable using those free hots? Because I personally, if I go into a McDonald's, whatever, which I never do, but I would never use the free Wi-Fi because I'm super worried about my security.
I completely agree, and that's a critical point. I think when using those public Wi-Fi's, people have to be aware that it's not the safest way to be connected. It's like similar to using Wi-Fi in the airports, where there are usually two options, where it's like very public open Wi-Fi, and then you type in the second option is you type in like personal information, and you get a little bit of more secure version of that, but still, you don't know how that data is being handled necessarily. So those are kind of, people are hoping that there won't be any data breaches, but it's you never know.
I imagine for everyday personal use, most people are generally okay with using it to a degree, except probably don't want to do their banking and such. But I imagine there's a lot of businesses and some employees of businesses where they probably don't allow their workers to use the free Wi-Fi and all that sort of stuff. So
that's something World Mobile then I think can tap into. I think the fact that connect to, if we were to put Wi-Fi air nodes over there, you'll be able to connect but securely. Having your data encrypted on chain.
Yeah, absolutely. Koreans are very digital literate, and they are quick to adapt to new technology as long as it makes sense. So, people are looking for good alternatives that provide value and transparency. I think transparency and security, privacy is something that Koreans are definitely sensitive about, and they want to protect the data. So if we're able to reach out to the audience with proper education, then definitely it's something that Koreans would be keen on exploring and using.
That's a great segue to get to the that breach. If you can talk to us more about this SK Telecom breach that occurred in April.
So I guess how do I say, more clear explanation would be the telecom breach was found in April, and actually the actual breach itself happened over the span of 2-3 years. And so as you can see on this page, 25 million subscribers have, and I think that is the minimized number.
That's like one in every two. That's like 50%.
That's half the population, yeah.
You know? Or if you're looking at the number of subs, which was 60 million or something, wasn't it? So it's like a third to a half of the population.
I think they all had to get a new SIM card as a result, because the IME number was
and
compromised.
even that was upsetting the consumers, because of course the company didn't have enough SIM cards to be distributed. So if, for example, me as someone in her 30s and people in their 20s who are quick to learn the news and quick to go to the store and find a way to find new SIMs, that's I guess a little bit better than some of other folks like my parents or some of the older folks or very young folks who are not so adept to finding new methods to be connected. It was very difficult. I would see the news and community forums where people are trying to get a hold of new SIM cards for their parents, and they couldn't get any. So I think that challenge is still being staggered. But yeah, that was a very traumatizing experience for a lot of people.
So that was just April this year, where they found out that hackers will actually have been in the systems for the last 3 years.
I understand this was suspected to be North Korea.
Yeah,
there's not surprising.
No politics on this show, Steve. No politics.
Yeah, we can have an entire separate call on that. But so a lot of data is being sold and sent over to across borders. Yeah,
this is the perfect time to actually enter Korea, where Well Mobile comes in and say, hey guys, if the data was encrypted and on chain, none of this would have happened.
And with eSIMs, so that you don't have to worry about that hardware component of it, and the SIM swap protection and the privacy through the blockchain, all of this kind of stuff. Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to pull in a lot of customers there. That'd be good.
Because I think that's something I read, Vicky, was because Koreans are very crypto savvy, and you can go maybe deeper in those numbers, but there were a lot of crypto holders that had actually been hacked and lost the content of their wallets through the SIM swap attacks. So I would love to be able to see Well Mobile get into the Korean market and providing with a SIM swap insurance, for example. So I think, but tell us a little bit more about crypto, because obviously Well Mobile is also a telco company, but also a blockchain company, and I think Korea is going to love it.
I think there's two folds to it. So to give you a bit of background on crypto market and crypto community in Korea, I think Korea is going to be very interesting markets because over 30% of the population is investing in crypto, so which puts Korea among the highest adoption rate globally. Just to give you a comparison with other neighboring countries like Japan and China, is sit around at 4%. So compared to that, 30% is a big number. And so Koreans are not strangers to digital assets for sure. And there's a huge amount of capital, curiosity, and activity in this space. But also, and this is key, is that the sentiment around crypto is still pretty cautious among majority of the people. I think that's also kind of global sentiment as well. And people are, unless you're in that community, people are not quite openly talking about crypto space. So you kind of, you sit with your friends or your colleagues and kind of, look around the room and throw in a couple of keywords. And if somebody takes the bait, then the whole conversation starts. But, usually people associate it still with kind of get rich quick scheme or scams or unstable investments. That's still there. And there's that deeply rooted mindset around, hard earned money. And
I've been in crypto a long time, and I still see it as that way. It is a dangerous space. There's lots of scammers and, lots of, rubbish projects and stuff. It's still, when people often I speak to people and they'll say, "Oh, it's too late.
That's true.
I've missed the boat on the crypto." And I'm like, "Not really, no, because it's really very nascent still, and it's still the Wild West, and I don't think there's a lot of really massively successful projects and stuff yet. I think it's still very early, and I think World Mobile is going to be one of those projects that shines through. But
Yeah,
anyway, I guess
definitely.
we'll see.
Yeah. No, I think World Mobile is the one that will shine and bring bring a very positive spin to what blockchain can offer.
Absolutely.
And I would hope, Korea is going
I
to
think
embrace this.
as soon as people can see and feel and touch, that's what, usually people are scared of, let's say Bitcoins or other cryptocurrency or blockchain, because they can't see it in front of me. That's what usually scares people away. But yeah, that's what makes World Mobile very distinct and different from other projects. So for me, what I think is really important is to give good education and trust building, not just for World Mobile, but for any other new projects coming into Korea. We need to kind of meet the audience, meet the people where they are and speak their language, both literally and culturally, and show real world use cases that go just beyond trading coins. And World Mobile is a perfect case of connecting the disconnected.
Yeah, I do think the whole space is finally sort of feeling that now, that there's now a lot more caution and suspicion around, all this gambling with tokens and stuff. I think we're past that kind of crazy period, at least to a degree. The meme coins are still as popular as ever for some reason, but I feel like everybody is looking for real value, real adoption. And I get the sense the space is starting to mature a bit. And I think, I think World Mobile will be a major part of that.
I've got a sense that, the Korean population is jumping into crypto because I think a major contributor is they work extensive amount of hours. They have very little holidays. To them, life is work, 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 and you can't make it unless you have an additional income, either from gambling, which I think is not legal over there,
Mm-hmm.
or not as accessible. But I think the crypto kind of gamble is something that is for them a hope. They see it as a hope that they can make it. And what I would love to see is that World Mobile pushes the passive income aspect of us being able to invest in anodes. It's telling the community, hey guys, crypto is a bit of a gamble. You can make big, you can lose big, but there's another option out there. Not only you're deploying a network that will make everyone safer, more private, but on top of this, buy an anode, invest in that infrastructure for your own country, and at the same time you get 30 to 40% APY. I think that will appeal a lot to the because the population is aging, and I think they will be looking forward to having some sort of retirement
For
income.
sure.
So
Yeah, for
wouldn't
sure.
you think
I think that's what makes World Mobile another reason why it would be such a good project for Koreans as well, is because yes, Koreans are looking for passive income, but they are also scared that, cryptos and coins might be, scam, or the hurdle to enter that space is a bit high, because even for me, when I first tried to learn about crypto world, everybody seems to know everything already. So it was difficult for me to find, okay, what's the starting point where I can learn what staking is, or what's the difference between different currencies and coins and so on. So I guess my point is that people are definitely looking for the passive income. And so having this air nodes or different types of nodes in Korea, and also people would be interested in purchasing air nodes that are located in other countries like Pakistan and Zanzibar, where there's more disconnect. So I think it would be a very interesting conversation with the consumers and potential air node owners.
Another reason for World Mobile to go out there is to fix those Swiss cheese problems.
People, including myself, are very impatient when it comes to bandwidth or connectivity. If something like you see the signal, the bars, if it drops slightly and if it impacts the Netflix I'm watching or the video I'm watching, I'm immediately like switching over to a different network, or I'm calling support. So in that sense, that filling the Swiss cheese example, I think it could be definitely a good solution and good alternative for the users, because also which is tied to other challenges that consumers face because of monopolized telco industry. If something happens, it could be just bandwidth issue, but if something happens, there's data breach, or if there's fire, or if anything like that happens, people would immediately want to turn to another option. And I think having a completely different type of decentralized operation would be appealing.
So I think you're saying that if we were say World Mobile, okay, we want to get into the telco market in Korea, and we're just similar to your big three. We're a centralized company, but we are yellow versus the KT or the LG and so forth. There would be no interest from the Korean community. What they want is really an alternative, and the fact that we are decentralized and running a blockchain, that will have that appeal. Yeah. Yes.
Another thing I wanted to share, I spoke about having sharing good education and good trust building, and tied to that is the language component. World Mobile is a global company where everything's in English, and I'm sure it will be localized for different regions, but Korea is still largely a monolingual country. So younger generation is more exposed to English, due to social media and pop culture, etc. But majority of the population, especially the older generation, still doesn't have high English literacy. So for a global company like World Mobile, localizing content is mission critical. Whether it's how-to guides or staking instructions, all the way to case studies and marketing. If it's not in Korean, people will not reach the mainstream. So that's actually part of what I've been doing as well, to make sure there are translated materials for Korean audience.
Are you saying you volunteered to put all the Korean subtitles
on
this video?
Yeah.
That's what AI is for, Dave. Yeah. My understanding is that World Mobile are probably going to be, are predominantly entering Korea through an existing telco there, similar to what's happening in Pakistan. I think that's the case. Is that right, Dave? Do you know about that?
Last, I think Emmanuel spoke and Vicky, they said they were looking at different options on how to enter.
Okay.
I think others just leverage an actual MNO, I would think, not so much of an MVNO, but an MNO, or actually go out there and use the frequencies that are available. But I mean, look, I think that's the guys know exactly what they're doing. It's not the first time they're entering a country.
I was quite pleasantly surprised because, Korea, while we are tech savvy as general population, and government promotes startups and all sorts of I guess technology, but we are still quite conservative when it comes to opening up the market to entirely new type of business. So I was quite surprised, but I'm very glad that World Mobile and the team is pushing forward, because I don't think it's the easiest thing to do. So yeah, I'm
Now I get where you're coming from. Yeah, there's that sense. I mean, the government would not allow anyone just to come in and grab some market share and all. There's, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think this is fantastic. This is awesome news for us as well, Steve. We're gonna get some air nodes a bit closer to home. Just one flight away.
Yeah, I quite liked South Korea. I wouldn't mind going back there, and
oh yeah,
I want to go snowboarding there. I hear it's pretty decent. Yeah.
Actually, I wonder what is the reception like on the slopes. Like, have you been skiing over there?
I am not the best person to answer that because I'm not a skier. But I think in those resort areas, like ski resorts, they should have good connection. But outside of that, I think that's where a lot of opportunities also.
I imagine with it being such a densely packed, urban population, and things mostly being on 5G, that there would be a lot of little dead spots and things, or just because of the amount of walls and structure and stuff around, that there would be a significant Swiss cheese problem. But I don't really know.
Yeah, I think if we look at the data usage, there's kind of map that shows where those stations are located and how connected are those different regions. You can see that metropolitan cities are pretty well connected, but those mountainous areas or in between cities, there's still lots of areas where it's not as connected.
Let's bring the aerostats, Steve. I did put online, do you remember the map where I think with 2 aerostats we can cover the whole of South Korea, including Jeju Island.
Fantastic.
Satellites is something we might be using there as well. Talking about satellites, I wouldn't close the show before I show the new flag of Korea.
How do you like this,
Vicky? Yeah, that's it. So Well Mobile is gonna push for that as well. Not only do we change the internet, but we'll change the flag too.
Yeah.
Well, I think you might be asking a little much there.
I know, we got Vicky with us. She can she's got the right contacts, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Or if Emmanuel was here, he would say brilliant.
No. He would say brilliant. You've got to extend that out a bit.
Kudos to Emmanuel for all the hard work you're doing. I think this is great to have you there. Now, look, any final words you would like to bring up, Steve? Or Vicky?
Not really. I'm pretty excited to see what happens in Korea as well as in other countries that we're opening up. So yeah, really looking forward to this exciting stage where we really start to roll out everything that all the groundwork has sort of been laid now, and it's just a matter of onboarding and spreading out into multiple countries. It's going to be an exciting time.
Exciting. We got the blood train. That's it. So the rails are here. HD1 is in the background is there.
Very close, yeah.
So this is a moment we've been waiting for, and that's, seeing detours, 13 million coming in, and then in Korea, I would love to see all that influx and energy and adoption coming through. So, yeah, the best years of World Mobile are just ahead of us. Then
it's a perfect place for this time of the project, because it has spaces where it still needs connectivity, but also there's a lot of infrastructure in place that World Mobile can utilize. So I think it's a very good market. I'm also very excited. I'm grateful to be part of this journey with the World Mobile community, and thank you for having me here. I'm glad I was able to share a bit of perspective on Korea, a country that I call home, and one that I really believe has so much potential in this space. So if the audience is listening from Korea, or if this is your first time hearing about World Mobile, it's going to be great. And if the listener is already part of the community, let's keep building. So thank you so much for having me here.
No, it was a delight having you, Vicky. Thank you for all your valuable insights. Steve, thank you.
Thanks very much. can't wait to have maybe see you one day in Korea and have
Yes,
some chicken
yes.
and beer. That's
And she will be holding that anode.
Yep, sounds good.